Hey you guys, it's the Psychopoweranger once again, and I'm here to bring you all sorts of builds. Today I'm going to be putting out two videos. They're both going to be about Rangers. We're going to see how many builds I can get out this week before the beta comes out. And when the beta is out, then I'm going to just start doing all sorts of videos showcasing builds and doing things that are my ideas that I think will be cool and stuff that's effective in PvP. Anyways, this first build is an up close and personal Ranger. So let's go and hop on in. Alright, here we have it. So when you're looking at builds, you want to think of things that you want to do. Originally, I wanted to go with spirits, but then I realized that up close and personal, the spirits will not be helpful. So, we decided that we were going to go mainly signets. Now we'll continue to go over the skills and explain why I like them. Slash your foe, knock them back, and then leap forward. Now this skill will make you jump away from your enemy, then jump forward. That is two skills where you're constantly moving back and forth from your enemy. This is very huge. It will give you an advantage on flanking maneuvers. You can combine this with dodge roll to make it so that you are constantly throwing your enemy off from where your location is. If you have a second player fighting with you, this will constantly make them have the decision of switching targets. This is huge, especially playing with somebody who's speccing more of a defensive role. You twist around your enemy and poison them. Keep in mind that poison also reduces their healing by 33%. This can be huge in clutch situations. Try to save this for the end of the fight, unless you think that you'll be able to use it a second time. You also twist around them, making it harder for them to keep on you. Hunter's Call is just a damage thing. I don't really see anything else useful about it except for that it's just constant pure damage. It's another way to put on pressure like poison. Now, Call of the Wild is the huge thing in this build. I believe that the Warhorn is huge. It grants you swiftness, might, and fury all together in one buff. That is ginormous, and that's why I feel it really works well with the elite skill I chose. We have heal as 1 to heal your pet. You really need your pet healthy in this build, though Healing Spring is also a very good one to choose from if you're going to be playing a game where you're capping something. Signet of Stone improves toughness and your pet's toughness. When you activate it, also makes your pet not take any damage for 10 seconds. This works really well with Search and Rescue. If you want to play a more support role, then use Search and Rescue in your 9 slot. We'll talk about that in a minute. Signet of the Wild grants health regeneration to you and your pet. This is huge because there's also a trait that makes it so that you gain even more health regeneration. Your character will be regenerating health a lot more than a normal character will be, and this is big. On top of that, it will also make your pet deal more damage, and it will grant it stability, meaning it cannot be knocked down. And this will be huge for securing kills. Finally, I grabbed Lightning Reflexes. This will be used to give you an even more height advantage to keeping your enemy at bay. Playing rogue type characters is my thing, and I'm all about being sure that since I don't have the defense, I use my mobility to keep me ahead. Mobility is often overlooked, and being a mobile character is very important. This class is definitely good for capturing and being in places that it needs to be quickly, because I designed it to be a very quick character. Finally, we have Rampage's 1, which essentially does this thing as Warhorn does, but it also increases your attack speed. Now, what's cool about having both of these skills, you activate Call of the Wild first, then you activate Rampage's 1 second, and then you can reactivate Call of the Wild again. That's a total of 50 seconds of having Swiftness, Might, and Fury on all at the same time. That can be huge in a fight, and it will definitely give you a cutting edge over your enemies. I decided to use the short bow as my second weapon, because with traits, it definitely becomes more important than the longbow. It also causes a lot of damage over time skills, which this build needs a lot of. It causes bleed, it causes poison. It will then also give you swiftness, which is a huge part of this build. It'll cause bleed and cripple, and finally it'll stun in daze. Sadly, marksmanship is namely used for, well, marksmanship. And that means that you won't be getting as much power with this build, so it needs to be supplemented in other ways. However, I did find a way to at least get 10 points into it. First of all, I thought that opening strike is very important. Causing your enemy to be vulnerable is just awesome. There's hardly any reason not to take 5 points in marksmanship on any ranger build because of how good vulnerability is. And then secondly, we are using 2 signets, so activating a signet grants might. Having might just ups your damage even more, which is very important in this build because of the fact that you don't have a lot of power. However, the fact that you will be using the Warhorn and your elite to be supplementing your damage a lot definitely helps out that problem. So, I took 30 points in skirmishing because that's generally what you're going to be doing. You're going to be skirmishing your enemies. Now, there's 2 of the minors that have to do with swapping your weapons, so be sure that you're doing that with this build. It'll grant you swiftness, which is yet again 33 bonus movement speed. This will come in handy with Hunter Tactics, which will make you do 10% more damage, causing you to think about where your positioning is at. The final minor will also grant you fury while you are swapping weapons in combat. This means that if you are also using the Warhorn, you're already getting another 40% critical damage without even counting precision or gear. Your crits will then cause bleed. This means that with a lot of your attack, you're going to be doing bleed and poison, which is a lot of damage over time coming at the enemy. Your short bow skills are being reduced. As it is, Guild Wars 2 is huge about making sure that you have your skills off cooldown. So having 15% off your short bow means you'll be putting on your damage over times over and over again. This is very important. And finally, your pet's critical hits do 30% more damage. Having your pet do as much damage as possible will make it so that you can constantly be putting pressure on your enemy. He'll be taking numbers and numbers and numbers, and having plenty of numbers on your screen will cause panic in your opponent. Alright, Wilderness Survival is huge. You have an additional 50% endurance regeneration. Endurance is huge for dodging, and dodging is so important in this game. This is an amazing trait. I believe that the Ranger is one of the best trait trees in the game for miners. Now, since you're going to be dodge rolling so often, you and your pet will also be getting protection, which will reduce damage you take by 33%. This is huge considering you're going to be dodging so often. Not only are you going to be avoiding their attacks, but the next attacks that you'll be taking less of. Now, the next two traits that I decided are just reductions to your skills. So we have 15% faster recharge on swords and 15% recharge on warhorn. The skill set of these weapons are amazing. They really are, and they definitely just supplement themselves. There's no reason not to buff them as much as possible. Like I said, rejuvenation will also buff your healing regeneration, which means that you'll be gaining a lot of health regeneration. So not getting hit will just mean that you're constantly healing. Your opponent will be degenning. And finally, 10% of your vitality is converted into power. This will supplement the rest of the power that you are missing, meaning you'll be doing plenty of damage, but also be gaining a bunch of toughness and some vitality. And on a final note, another great choice is to do Signet of Renewal. The reason being is the build that I just described does not have a way to remove conditions. This right here will make it so that conditions will hardly ever be a problem. The fact that Signet of Renewal is on a 25-second cooldown is amazing, and it will really help your allies too, because it just pulls all conditions from all allies. On top of that, this will also grant you a final might proc. Alright, you guys, now also keep in mind that these are beta builds and they're definitely subject to change. Be sure to check out when this video came out. That way you know that this build isn't up to date and there's things that must have been changed or that it doesn't actually work because of how things have been changed. Finally, I didn't talk about the pets because it would have made the video even longer. So the pets that I would generally choose with this build are cats and spiders. Spiders immobilize and poison. Cats rend and rip and bleed, so that's also important. Alright, you guys, I hope that you did like the build. Another one will be coming. It's more of a supportive ranged ranger build, and that should be coming out later tonight, hopefully, if I get off work early enough. But anyways, you guys, thanks so much for watching. If you did like the video, go ahead and like it. Go ahead and subscribe if you feel like it. It's all good inside. Thanks so much. Peace out.